quick run through of the nucleonic type system, right? So you have an atomic formula, and that might be different degrees of dimensional recognition, all at the same convergence point, like a C7 node versus a spherical intercept in a three-dimensional system using a temporal boundary of surface deviation and some type of illustration of what's happening when things are in motion, right? And so you have the atomic, and you can split that down into surface structures. And I wanted to think more along the quark surface area. So you have mesons that break apart, and when they do, another set, a pairing of quarks, can describe the intercepts of field energies. And so the colorations or the interconnections of those quarks are kind of sort of through these gluionic threads of what temporally uh, coheres in an environment. So there's many different formulas of coherence and repeating patterns. And so depending on how that particle is ensembled, then you can get these expressions of Cooper pairs and other molecular quanta that just stay in stasis because of the convenience of orthogonal behaviors in three-dimensional arenas. So you could think of it as a three-body problem, or you could just think of it as just an orbital surface, and through motion of orbitals, there's this trace tail that's a multi-dimensional uh, disarrayment of, vortexing influence and confluence of reactions through physics and the consequences and summations. So by taking an entire uniform strata, like an atomic beam, which is considering the atomic element, all of those nucleic intercepts from quarks to the gluionic positions within, all of that temporal change influences each other component into atomic beams of phase lock coherence, where the distance is radio intercepts of influence on things like electron beams or things like photonic beams. You can consider it in those various clusters in how optically surfaces develop and how they become a charge state of hydraulic, usually deviations and change factors that are occurring because of it, to create a local stasis element, of comparison, and the radial noise that's inherent. Uh, I like to think of the gluionics as the bilge pump in a vessel, because possibly with all of those looping states of gluionic formulas, then the quark could just be a ghost wireframe, like a polarizing volume, such that energy that's decoherent and arriving from multiple dimensions can get absorbed into such a gizmo and induce such a field energy, not to just this atomic, but also all the other atomics close by. And so that coupling force of gravitational speed of light emissions and spherical and rotational phase locking effects all work together locally in that temporal circuits of either being an electronic field change or a magnetic field change. And that duality is a mobii. All that down to fluids and atmospheres, and describing solids towards crystalline structures and considering neutrality of what doesn't pivot so well because it's so temporally locked in a stasis, a complicating stasis, that within a subset of such a complex stasis that they can even store antiparticles, which is basically just a formula of hollow deformation available in space-time, almost like a shell effect, where they can, almost like a buoyancy vessel, influence a certain amount of energy output in a phased battery ensemble. And that is the like welding particles together to output pure energy and E equals mc squared that recoalesces into coalescence using various levels of coherence. It reformulates rotations once it's going back down into a fission state from the fusion, vice versa, fusion from the fissions. Check that. See if that makes sense, because you got the planetary ensemble of very true spherical patterns, and you have all of these orbital systems that helps nest different weaves of harmony interacting within at least our solar system.